The wait is over, the hype is at a fever pitch, and it's almost time to welcome back everyone's favorite Star Wars bounty hunter turned daddy, the Mandalorian. And the frog-slurping, egg-munching, macaroon-stealing, Force-infused baby turned child turned plush doll, Grogu.
I would like to see the baby.
And you will! The third season of The Mandalorian is here, and we've crammed all the big moments, stunning revelations, and inspiring lessons from seasons 1 and 2 into our Star Wars-loving hearts. And yes, we've also got some events from the Book of Boba Fett. So if you need a refresher, don't worry. Like Boba Fett or Din Djarin in a street fight, we've got your back. This is Cram It, the Mandalorian edition. Before we begin, let's take a look at some of the basic need-to-know facts of the series. The Mandalorian begins 5 years after the Empire's catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Endor. But that doesn't mean peace immediately fell upon the land or that the Empire was entirely wiped away. The Outer Rim territories are still full of unruly planets full of hardened beings just trying to carve out their own place in the galaxy. And it's tough going. Crime syndicates, the Bounty Hunters Guild, and the Underworld are finding ways to thrive as the New Republic leaders, including the likes of Mon Mothma and Leia Organa, have their attentions focused on the center of the galaxy. The state of the Mandalorian people is also in question. Once prominent during the waning days of the Clone Wars, they've been scattered even after a new leader, Bo-Katan, emerged just a few years prior to the breakout of the Galactic Civil War. The galaxy is a very unsettled place as a lone gunslinger known only as the Mandalorian walks into a bar on the ice planet of Patagon in the far reaches of the galaxy. Season 1 of The Mandalorian can best be described as lone wolf and cub, meaning that among all of the show's nods to classic American Western storytelling is the direct influence of the 1970 Japanese manga Lone Wolf and Cub. The great hardened warrior is about to have his life and destiny forever changed by a child. But the Mandalorian certainly doesn't know any of that when we first meet him. Adorned in a beat-up set of armor infamously associated with the great warriors of Mandalore, he's just trying to collect a simple bounty.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
The man hiring Mando is Greef Karga, a boisterous man with a taste for fine robes who just wants to get his stew on while doling out these low-paying bounties from the city of Navarro on the volcanic Outer Rim planet of the same name. These jobs aren't paying well, and this helmet-wearing bounty hunter needs more money. This is because he takes his earnings down to a secret enclave full of Mandalorians led by the mysterious mother-like, or is it cult-like, leader of his Mandalorian covert. And our Mando donates his rewards and payments to other foundlings, children who were adopted by the warriors of Mandalore, just like he was.
I was once a foundling.
I know.
Greef sends Mando to a peculiar man known only as the Client for a very special job. The Mandalorian is presented with a piece of Mandalorian Beskar as a down payment for the secretive mission to collect a 50-year-old target for the Client and the diabolical Dr. Pershing. Mando hands over the Beskar, a symbol of the once powerful Mandalorian people that was wiped away by the Empire in the Great Purge, to the armorer, and she turns into a shiny new pauldron while Mando flashes back to his past trauma as a child being hidden from some unseen danger by his parents, though we'll eventually learn that he was saved by these very Mandalorians. From there, Mando is off and running to the planet of Arvana 7, where a local moisture farmer, an Ugnaught known as Kuiil, agrees to help him in his cause.
I have spoken.
Kuiil teaches him to ride a blur, our first real moment of Mando being challenged to connect to his core identity as a Mandalorian, and leads him to a far-out compound, leaving him to it. But the Mandalorian is not alone. The assassin droid IG-11 is here to collect on the same bounty, and we already know Mando doesn't like droids.
No droids.
Mando and IG-11 team up to fight the Nikto gang, and it's rough going. But they reach their target, a 50-year-old... Wait, is that a baby Yoda? IG-11 tries to shoot it, but Mando shoots IG-11 in his droid noggin and is left standing mesmerized in front of this magical little child. Lone wolf? Meet cub. On the way back to his ship, the wonderfully designed Razor Crest, think of it as a Volkswagen van in the stars, Mando is attacked by two Trandoshan bounty hunters. This confirms what Mando had suspected. He was not alone in his pursuit of the target. And it's a very special target. And very cute, especially when this bouncy Baby Yoda...
Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
it just seemed easy.
Yeah.
And I got my wrist slapped by John like a few times. It's not Baby Yoda. Okay.
Sorry. Child flashes its good-hearted instincts to heal Mando. Come on, Mando, look at him try to help you with his little hand. Mando needs to get back to Navarro, turn in the child, and collect his pay, which is hard to do after he discovers that his ship has been completely stripped of some Jawas living on Arvala 7. Mando can't get his stuff back his way, so he seeks out Kuiil, who helps him strike a deal with the Jawas. Go retrieve a coveted egg from a nearby mudhorn and get your stuff back. They really want that egg, and Mando needs his stuff back, so he accepts what is the first of many transactional partnerships. Mando seems to only understand the world in this way. There are no real connections to be formed, just deals to be made. Ah, Mando. Buddy, that's so sad. Mando is nearly killed by the angry Mudhorn, but is saved when the child reveals himself to be full of the Force. The Mudhorn is dead, the Jawas get their Cadbury egg-like treat, and Quill helps Mando rebuild his broken ship. Almost like there's a constant use of imagery of a broken Mandalorian being repaired and rebuilt into something new. Right? Oh, also, both Quill and the Mandalorian are confused about what the physically and mentally exhausted child did, leading all of us to wonder why the Mandalorian has seemingly not been made aware of the Force or the Jedi. Mando returns to Navarro with the child and collects his sizable bounty. And we learn that the infamous Star Wars ice cream maker is actually a Camtono and a great place to store valuables. But Mando can't quite shake the nagging feeling that the child is something special. For now, he just takes his Beskar reward to the armorer and gets his armor leveled up. He is a striking image of a shiny, powerful Mandalorian now, and people are noticing.
I must warn you, it will draw many eyes.
Including the other Mandalorians who aren't as thrilled that this bounty hunter is walking around representing Mandalore, including Paz Vizsla of House Vizsla. They take issue with him working with the Empire after the Empire wiped out Mandalore, leaving them with no true home. However, the armorer says this is the way of Mandalore and adds that you can never pull off your mask and reveal your face to any other being, saying, "This is the way."
This is the way.
Well, that was weird. Are we sure this isn't a cult or something? Just saying. Anyway, Mando commits the ultimate sin of inquiring about what the client wanted the child for, and that's a no-no according to the Guild Code.
It's against the Guild Code.
So many codes and ways for this guy to follow. Mando sneaks into the client's compound and rescues the child. However, before he can leave, he's confronted by Grief Karga and the Guild bounty hunters. All hope seems lost, but the other Mandalorians emerge, revealing themselves at their own peril and helping the Mando escape with the child. Thanks, other Mandos.
This is the way. This is the way.
From there, Mando and the child are on the run. First, he tries to hide out on the swamp planet Sorgan, but he runs into former rebel shock trooper Cara Dune, who went AWOL from the New Republic after she found post-war life difficult, and a local village of krill farmers pays Mando to help them rid the area of a gang of Klatooinians that are constantly raiding them. Sorgan is too hot, and so are Mando's feelings for the local widow Amira, who wants Mando to remove his helmet, so he wants to leave the child behind and move on. But when Cara kills another bounty hunter trying to eliminate the child, Mando packs him up too and bolts. After taking damage from yet another bounty hunter, the Mandalorian has to land at a place we all know well.
This is Mos Eisley Tower.
There we meet seasoned sketch comedy actor Pelimoto, a spaceship grease monkey with a charming pit droid repair crew, and head back into Chalmun's spaceport cantina, now bartended by Jabba's old torture droid EV-99, to get stuck with a wannabe bounty hunter named Toro Calican. Mando needs money for those ship repairs, so he agrees to help Toro hunt down the deadly assassin and mercenary Fennec Shand. On the way out to get Fennec, the duo encounters some Tuskens. Toro wants to fight past them, but Mando communicates with them via sign language, and the Tuskens agree to let them pass through to continue the hunt. And hey, cool note, Coda Oscar winner Troy Kotzer helped develop the Tusken sign language and played the lead Tusken scout. One dewback bait trap and a flare trick later, the duo bests Fennec Shand. But when Mando goes to fetch another ride, Fennec convinces Toro to turn on Mando for his own glory. Great idea, but Toro also shoots her before going ahead to Peli's shop to ambush Mando. Bold move, but a bad one. Mando kills him, settles up, and he's off. We, though, get to see a mysterious set of legs accompanied by the familiar sound of spurs approach the body of Fennec Shand. Could it be? Nah. While we contemplate the mysterious foot, Mando heads to an old friend named Ran, who needs some extra muscle for his new crew made up of a Deveronian named Berg, a killer droid called Zero, Mando's former Twi'lek love interest Sheehan, and Bill Burr, also known as Miggs Mayfeld, a former Imperial sharpshooter. Ran wants Mando to join up to rescue Sheehan's brother Quinn from a New Republic prison ship, just like old times. If you think this part of the journey is about breaking away from your past and changing who you are, you're right. Though everyone on the squad double-crosses Mando. Like a monster in a horror film, he hunts each of them down, traps them on the prison ship, and returns Quinn to Ran with a tracking device on him that alerts the New Republic to their location. Mando leaves both Ran's base and his past as New Republic X-Wings flown by 3 of the show's directors fly in to destroy the base. With Mando ready to move onward and clear the constant threats against him and the child by the Guild and the client, he accepts Grief Karga's proposal that they use the child as bait to get to the client and free the city of the growing Imperial threat. But the Mandalorian believes in the idea that the real treasure is the friends we make along the way, so he recruits Cara Dune and Kuiil to join him. While recruiting Kuiil, we learned that the Ugnaught recovered, rebuilt, and reprogrammed IG-11, and this doesn't sit well with the droid-hating Mandalorian. But Kuiil calmly explains that one can be reprogrammed from what was imprinted on them to become a different and better version of themselves. Like, seriously, this is one of the key thematic sequences in all of the series. Don't skip it. But anyway, once a killer assassin droid programmed to kill the child, Kuiil has turned IG-11 into a nurse droid programmed to protect him, and it's on to Navarro. On the way to the client, Greef is injured in an attack by flying reptile-like predators and is healed by the child's magic hands. This leads Greef to a spiritual awakening. Instead of turning on Mando, he eliminates his own men, and they're off to meet the client with a new plan. Face to face with the client, we get two of the most iconic lines in all of Star Wars.
Can I offer you a libation to celebrate the closing of our shared narrative? I would like to see the baby.
Ha! The client is a great character. But too bad Moff Gideon arrives and his troops kill the client while setting up the final showdown with the Mandalorian. One he already feels pretty smug about since his scout troopers have already got the child back in their possession. Rest in peace, Kuiil. We have spoken. But fear not, those scout troopers, bad scout troopers, are taken out by IG-11 while Moff Gideon calmly reveals all he knows about Greef, Cara, and the Mandalorian, including his real name, Din Djarin. We learn about Gideon as well, as Din recognizes him as a former Imperial Security Bureau agent during the Empire's destruction of Mandalore. As we're contemplating all the new information before it can get typed into a Wikipedia page, the battle begins thanks to that rampaging nurse droid, IG-11. Din is severely injured as the crew tries to find a way out. Cara and Greef escape with the child into the city's sewers as IG-11 stays behind to heal Din. At first, Din refuses to take off his mask because,
This is the way.
But IG-11 reminds Din that he is a droid, not a living being, so the creed would not be broken. Din removes his mask and we get to see his face and his mustache. Into the sewers we go, but the Mandalorian covert is no longer there as they had to leave after revealing themselves to help Din 5 chapters ago. Only the armor remains, and she identifies the child as a Jedi, the ancient enemies of the Mandalorians, and tells Din that his new quest is to take the child to a Jedi, any Jedi, so it can be with his people. Before that, she makes Din his new clan signet, the Mudhorn, and gives him a jetpack. The others escape on a lava river thanks to a heartstring-pulling self-sacrifice of IG-11, who finally uses his self-destruct mode and saves the day, while Din uses his brand new jetpack to knock Moff Gideon and his TIE fighter out of the sky. Now the day is most certainly saved. As the smoke clears, Greef offers Mando his position back in the Bounty Hunters Guild, but Din refuses, citing his new quest. Din buries Kuiil and leaves Navarro looking for more Mandalorians with clues to the whereabouts of a Jedi. We're all so happy that we almost don't see that Moff Gideon has survived the destruction of his TIE fighter and cuts himself free of the wreckage with the fabled Darksaber, a lightsaber crafted by the first Mandalorian Jedi Tar Vizsla and the symbol of Mandalorian authority. Whoever possesses it is considered to be the ruler of Mandalore. Oh no, how did he get it? Does he rule Mandalore? Please take us to Season 2 now. Phew, that was fast. The second season of The Mandalorian is a tale of a clan of two. Though Din Djarin is now trying to complete his new quest of finding more Mandalorians out in the galaxy with any clues on where to find a Jedi, the real journey is the growing connection of this found family unit and asks the question, what makes you a Mandalorian? And that journey begins in earnest when Din gets information telling him to head to the wayward town in Tatooine called Mos Pelgo. It's under the protection of a Mandalorian armor-wearing sheriff named Cobb Vanth. He doesn't want Mando in the town, and Mando doesn't want him to wear that armor fit for a real Mandalorian, which Cobb Vanth is clearly not. Also, yep, we know that's Boba Fett's armor, but they presumably have never seen Empire Strikes Back. Cobb Vanth bought the armor from Jawas and uses it to help fight off a mining collective that tried to control the town the moment the second Death Star exploded. Din just sees that as armor that deserves to be worn by someone who is actually a Mandalorian. A crate dragon interrupts their tense standoff by rolling through town and devouring a bantha. So, once again, Din strikes a deal, this time helping the townsfolk learn to work with the nearby Tuskens to remove their collective problem, one hungry crate dragon. After an epic fight, the crate dragon is dead, the Tuskens hack up the carcass, recovering the pearl inside, and Din leaves with the Mandalorian armor. All under the watch of a helmetless, scarred Boba Fett wearing some of the clothing historically associated with Tuskens. See? We knew it! We knew it! Surviving an ambush on the way back to old friend Peli Moto, Din and the child then transport a sweet, anxious frog lady and her eggs back to the planet Trask, so her husband, who has information on other Mandalorians, can fertilize them. Which is why it's bad the child eats them. Bad the child. Bad. An encounter with New Republic X-Wings waylays the trip and they crash on the ice planet of Maldo Crest. What follows is nightmare fuel for anyone not a fan of spiders, especially ice spiders. Chased, trapped, and about to be snacks for the largest spider of the horde, the trio is rescued by the two X-Wing pilots that were pursuing them, Trapper Wolf and the insightful Carson Teva. Despite there being an arrest warrant on the Mandalorian for his part in releasing Quinn from the New Republic prison ship, these Rangers of the New Republic overlook the incident because Mando also helped trap 3 other criminals. Floating ahead in a damaged Razor Crest, the group arrives on Trask for a heartwarming Frog family reunion. And then Frog Daddy gives Din the next clue. The Mandalorians were last seen at a local inn. Oh, awesome. Thanks? Also, who is watching them? Din ends up on a Quarren man trawler chasing the next clue about other Mandalorians when he is double-crossed. Again, does nobody like helping this man? Well, yes, some people do, and those people are 3 Mandalorians. Axe Woves, Cosca Reeves, hey, that was you, and Bo-Katan Kryze. Yep, the Bo-Katan, the last known ruler of Mandalore and sister of Duchess Satine, the former love interest of Obi-Wan Kenobi who once tried to change Mandalore's ways with her infectious brand of pacifism. Also, when we say revealed, we do mean literally, as in, these 3 Mandalorians take off their masks in front of Din. Doesn't that break the Mandalorian creed? Bo-Katan scoffs at this notion and claims Din was raised as a child of the Watch, a group of zealots that adhere to the old ways of Mandalore. Din doesn't understand, can't give him his trust, and rebuffs their help.
This is the way.
Maybe it's not Din. But Din is not done with them, as the trio saves him again after the brother of the trawler captain attacks him. This time, Bo-Katan reveals that she and her crew have been raiding Imperials and she wants to retake Mandalore. So she makes Din a deal. Help us raid a ship and we'll give you info on where you can find a Jedi. All right, deal. Except Bo-Katan expands the plan and proclaims she wants to steal the ship and is looking for the Darksaber. You know, this one. They steal the ship despite the Imperial captain not giving her any info on the Darksaber and alerting Moff Gideon. Bo-Katan offers Din a chance to keep fighting with them and reclaim Mandalore, but he declines on account of his quest. So she tells him to go to the city of Calodan on the planet Corvus and seek the Jedi named Ahsoka Tano. Oh, here we go. Well, not quite. Before we go to Corvus, the Mandalorian returns to Navarro for repairs on a ship by his old buddy Greef Karga. Greef is now the magistrate of the city and looking good. Cara Dune is now the local marshal and the whole city is on the upswing. Except the Imperials are still causing a problem while operating out of a local base. Din agrees to help them take out the base, and that is where they learn that the child was part of a much bigger experiment. Moff Gideon and Dr. Pershing have been extracting the child's blood because of its high M count. Come on, say midichlorians, you cowards. And there are several clone bodies there. Something big is going on. The base is destroyed, Navarro is saved, and the child steals tasty macaroons from some poor kid just wanting his snack. Din and the child leave, but our favorite New Republic gumshoe Carson Teva arrives to investigate, convinced something is going down in these Outer Rim territories. Needing help with that, he offers Cara a chance to become a spin-off, a New Republic Ranger. Meanwhile, Moff Gideon is informed that a tracking beacon was placed on the Razor Crest by a spy and Grease repair crew, and he and his Dark Troopers will be ready. And with that, we're finally ready to go to the planet Corvus, where Ahsoka Tano is trying to get information from an Imperial magistrate named Morgan Elsbeth. Din finds her after Elsbeth sends him to kill Ahsoka with a Beskar spear, but Ahsoka would rather he help her free the city of Elsbeth, thank you very much. Oh, and then there's the small matter of Ahsoka Tano communicating with the child to learn that he was at the Jedi Temple when it fell during Order 66 and that his name is Grogu.
Grogu.
Din thinks this is a perfect match and the end of his quest. Ahsoka can train Grogu. But Tano wants no part of that, sensing Grogu's strong attachment to Din, and she has seen what that can do to a Jedi. She refuses to train him, believing Grogu must choose his own path. Ahsoka and Din storm the city and confront Elsbeth and her lieutenant. Tano bests Elsbeth in an epic lightsaber on spear duel, but not before demanding Elsbeth tell her the location of her master, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh, now here we go. With the city freed and the citizens back in power, Tano gives Din the Beskar spear and tells him to go to the planet Tython. There, they will find the ruins of a Jedi temple, which Grogu can use to find a Jedi in the galaxy who will train him. Tython is a sunny, rocky land, and once there, Grogu is placed on a stone in the center of a Jedi temple ruin. As he reaches out through the Force to find a Jedi to help him, a very familiar Firespray-class ship arrives. Oh, now here we really go. Boba Fett is back, accompanied by Fennec Shand, and he wants his Mandalorian armor back after he proves his own Mandalorian heritage to Din, answering a question as to the real heritage of Jango and Boba. Din agrees to trade the armor for the safety of Grogu. But before anyone can shake hands on that deal, 2 transports full of stormtroopers arrive and the fight is on. Like, it's on with a capital Boba Fett. But just then, Moff Gideon's cruiser emerges and destroys the Razor Crest, just as 4 Dark Troopers kidnap and exhausted Grogu, returning him to Moff Gideon for more dark experiments with Dr. Pershing. This chapter is titled The Tragedy, and they ain't lying. Boba and Fennec agree to help Din get Grogu back. To do so, Din breaks out old space masshole Miggs Mayfield from the Carthon Chopfield's prison with Cara Dune's help. They need the former Imperial Mayfield's help in accessing Imperial records on Gideon's location, which leads them to an Imperial Rhydonium refinery on the planet Morak. Din and Miggs go undercover as transport drivers, allowing Din to keep his mask on, and they are the only drivers of the convoy to survive an attack by local pirates. At the base, Din and Miggs need to get into the officers' mess hall to access the terminal with the information. In order to access the information, Din must remove his helmet to trigger a facial scan and go against his Mandalorian creed in his quest to save Grogu. As he's doing that, he is confronted by Imperial Officer Valen Hess, suspicious of Din's activities. It's getting really tense in here. Mayfield intervenes and they end up sharing a drink with Hess, Mayfield's former commanding officer during Operation Cinder. Racked with guilt for his involvement in that heinous act and disgusted by the Empire, Mayfield shoots Hess dead. They fight their way out and Mayfield destroys the refinery while Din tells Gideon that they're coming to rescue Grogu. Oh no, seriously, here we go. The final confrontation of Season 2 is almost here, but first Din and Cara Dune board an Imperial shuttle and take Dr. Pershing hostage. Din then travels to Trask to recruit Bo-Katan, Axe Woves, and Casca Reeves. Bo-Katan agrees to help them rescue Grogu as long as she can take possession of the Darksaber currently held by Gideon.
With the Darksaber restored to me, Mandalore will finally be within reach.
Deals. Everyone's got deals to make. On the ship, Din gets the best of Gideon in a Darksaber on Beskar duel, giving him the Darksaber, and as Gideon points out to Bo-Katan, that's the true way to earn it, so I don't know, maybe you should challenge him for it. Din doesn't want it and offers it to Bo-Katan, but before they can settle this, the Dark Trooper droids arrive and start to cut their way into the bridge. All hope seems lost for our heroes, until a single X-Wing fighter arrives on the cruiser. That's right, Jedi Knight and friend of Captain Solo, Luke Skywalker is here. He offers to take Grogu and train him to be a Jedi. Grogu makes the tough decision to go with Luke and his droid R2-D2. The clan of 2 is broken.
All right, pal. It's time to go.
As we're all crying, a post-credit scene reveals Boba Fett and Fennec Shand entering Jabba's palace, now run by his former Major Domo Bib Fortuna and killing Fortuna. Boba Fett takes the throne, leading us to the Book of Boba Fett. And yes, the focus is on Boba Fett at first. Once the most feared bounty hunter of the galaxy, we see him emerging from the Sarlacc pit and starting his life over while trying to break the cycle of violence in himself and for those around him by becoming a crime lord. But the series deals with growing beyond what you're bred for and covers the power and importance of changing with the times lest you be locked in your own pain. Fett's attempts to change Mos Espa have run up against the other crime lords and syndicates, so he needs Din's help to fight the coming war. Din seems to be a shell of his former self. He finds the armor in Paz Vizsla, possibly the last survivors of the Covert, and shows them the Darksaber. The armorer turns his Beskar spear into a gift for Grogu as we learn more about the Great Purge of Mandalore. Paz Vizsla challenges Din to combat for the right to wield the Darksaber and rule Mandalore. Paz is defeated, but Din confesses that he broke the Mandalorian code and had revealed his face to others.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
Needing a new ship, Din leaves and goes to Tatooine to find Pelimoto. She is an old N1 starfighter and convinces him to rebuild what once was and move forward. Message received, show. It's a tale of 2 mother figures, one keeping Din bound to the old ways and one urging him to change and go forward, tying him thematically to Boba Fett's story. Fennec finds Din and asks him to help Boba Fett. Din agrees but must go visit someone first. Din heads to see Grogu at Luke Skywalker's still being built Jedi school, but is not allowed to see Grogu by the visiting Ahsoka Tano. She tells him that his presence will hinder Grogu's training. Din begrudgingly leaves, but gives his gift for Grogu to Tano, a Beskar chainmail tunic. Luke Skywalker is teaching Grogu valuable lessons about the Force, and we start to learn more about how Grogu was taken from the Jedi Temple on Coruscant during Order 66. Sensing Grogu's heart is split over becoming a Jedi or rejoining Din, Luke gives him a choice: take Yoda's lightsaber and continue training, or take the Beskar tunic and go to Din. Back on Tatooine, Din tries to recruit Cobb Vanth and the citizens of Mos Pelgo to join the fight, but they only do so after Boba Fett's former mentor turned rival, Cad Bane, arrives, shoots Vanth and his deputy, and warns the town to stay neutral in the upcoming war. Them's fighting words. Before the final fight, Grogu returns, being dropped off by R2-D2 and Luke's X-Wing. Din helps Fett and his allies defeat the Pikes, while Grogu uses his Force skills to stop the violence by calming the rampaging Rancor that Fett rode into battle. Fett wins the war, Cad Bane is killed, maybe, and Din and Grogu leave the N1 starfighter, once again, a clan of two. And that brings us to the doorstep of the third season of The Mandalorian. The scope is bigger, the stakes raised, and we're heading back to the broken world of Mandalore to see what can be rebuilt out of the ruins. Let's just hope Grogu has time for a new snack along the way.